Good Tavach, this is Gemara in Eruvin Daf P Dalid. All the learning for today's Daf is sponsored as a special schos Aliyah Neshama for Moshe Bernstein, whose 20th yard set is today on Yudal Cheshvan, Sunday. Rav Moshe ben Rav Chaim Levi Atzatzal Neshama should have an Aliyah, sponsored by his son, a good friend of the Dafs. We should continue to be zeichet to learn many more Dafim together. All our chelim, of course, in Meir ben Yakir, men ben Micham, Ram Chanita, Chaim Sar Shom Sivi Yisrael, Sar Bas Connected Basim Chaim Sar Yisrael, Chaim Sar Esna Yisrael B'Mindol, Eliezer President Leir Shom Bas Nami Shafek B'Shem Chan Shal Davni Yitur Zem B'Chan Rezel, Liba Bracha Bas Tovia Musha. Yisrael Chaim and Yehudis Pesach Sha'ar Chali Yisrael. Let's pick it up at the bottom of Pei Gimel Amud Beis. Let's just review a little machlekes that we ended off yesterday with, which is going to be really the crux of the entire discussion for today's daf. We had a machlekes at the bottom of Pei Gimel Amud Beis. Zeb is Sholshol, Zeb is Rika. We're discussing an area between two chatziros, between an elevated part of a chatzar and a non-elevated part of a chatzar. And the point is that one is a higher floor, one is a lower floor. One is lezeb b'shulshul. One person sticks his hand out the window and there's a pillar over there that's 10 tfachim further than him. And lezeb is rika, and the person on the floor has to throw up 10 tfachim to reach that pillar. So for neither one is the usage so user-friendly. Both of them, it's further than 10 tfachim. So we had a machlekes. Rav said because neither is user-friendly, shteyam masurim, and Shmuel said no, we give it to the one of shilshul because the bottom line is it's easier to lean down than to throw up. That was the machlekes, Rav and Shmuel. And now we pick it up 4 lines from the bottom, bunch of different cases trying to figure out Rav and Shmuel. Now we learned in the Mishnah, Anshe Chatzar, Vanshe Marpeset, Shalachu v'lo Irvu. We have people in a Chatzar, we have people in a Marpeset, an elevated area. They forgot they didn't make an ear of what's the halacha. Kol shekavayasar tfachim l'mirpeset. Any area which is higher than 10 tefachim goes to people on the merpeset on the second floor. Pachas mikan l'chatzer. If it's less than 10 tefachim, then it goes to the people inside the chatzer. Says the Gemara. So what's this Mishnah talking about? Because al gadaitach my merpeset. What does it mean merpeset? Moving along to Beidaladim and Alif. Today's daf. What does merpeset mean? B'nei aliyah, the people in the second floor. Meaning you have a porch and then you have up on the second floor. We'll show a picture, of course, in a moment. Umay karle marpeset. The katzal merpeset. And they go up from the porch. Almos, what do we see again? We have a case. One has to bend down and one has to throw up. What's the halacha? We give it to the one that has to bend down. Because what do the Mishnah say? We give it to the B'nai Merpeset. We give it to the top people. They have to bend down. So that is the question on Rav, seemingly a raya to Shmuel. So as we see over here, this is the picture that we're talking about. Here it is. Because now what are we talking about? We're talking about, again, this is the picture that we're talking about. That what's marpeset? Anshe marpeset. People high in the top floors. You see over here. You have that porch, and you go from the porch, you walk up a bunch of stairs, and you go into your house. Says the Gemara, people on the second floor, for them to this pillar, the area that we're talking about, is more than 10 tefachim. For the people on the bottom to that pillar is 10 tefachim. Seemingly, this is the exact case that Rav and Shmuel argued. And what did the Mishnah teach? The Mishnah taught that we give it to the people on the top. Answers the Gemara, Chanami, like Rav Huna said, we'll read it inside in a moment. No, it doesn't mean that you go from the porch up to a second floor. It means there are people who live, their doors are straight open to the marpeset, to the porch, and therefore for them it's going to be right directly flush or less than 10 tefachim to this pillar, and that's the reason why it's going to give it to them. So it's nothing to do with the machlekes Rav and Shmuel. This is going to be a simple case that for one of them it's easy to use, so this area is directly across, and for the other one it's more than 10 tefachim. So of course we give it to the one with the easier usage. Let's read that inside, 3 lines down. Rav Huna taught what was the case? There were people living on the porch. The same thing is in our case. Says the Gemara, 1 second. What did the Seifa say the next case in the Braisa? If this pillar that we're discussing is less than 10 tefachim, then it goes to people down on the floor. Amai, if the case is that people are standing reaching off the porch, so now that it's less than 10 tefachim, for both of them, it's under 10 tefachim. And as Rashi points out very importantly, Stamar Pesed is like a via tuba. The porch porch is not so tall, so we're assuming the porch is about 10 tefachim tall. So if this pillar is less than 10 tefachim, what does that mean? It means from the ground to the pillar is less than 10 tefachim. That means from the pillar to the porch is less than 10 tefachim. So both of them have an easy usage. So why are we giving it to the ones in the ground? Answers the Gemara, my lechatzer. What does it mean that we give it to those in the chatzer? Af lechatzer. It means you also give it to those in the chatzer. Meaning, neither of them get it. Ushnei masurim, and they're both aser. Let's get the picture over here. Says the Gemara, what's the case? The case is, this was the next case in the Brisa, that we said that if the pillar is less than 10 tefachim, then we said it goes to people in the chutzner, people down on the floor. Ask the Gemara, what's the reason the porch is also within 10 tefachim? Answers the Gemara, the reason is, answers the Gemara, it doesn't mean that we give it to the people in the chutzner. It means also they have rights there. What does that mean? That means equal rights. The people in the porch have rights because it's within 10 tefachim. The people in the ground have equal rights, so it's in 10 tefachim. What's the halacha when we have two areas that both have equal rights in an area? Halacha is neither one gets it because they didn't make an eruv together. Now the Gemara proves this point. Says the Gemara, this is logical. But the Tani Sefer, what did the Sefer say? When this pillar is close by to the porch, but if it's further away, even if it's 10 tefachim tall, then l'chatzer, it goes to people in the chatzer. If it's further away than that porch, even if it's 10 tefachim tall, it goes to the chatzer. Says the Gemara, my l'chatzer. What do you mean it goes to the chatzer? Again, it's more than 10 tefachim. Elim l'chatzer vishari. You're going to tell me that what did the brisa mean? Like we read it at face value, that if it's further away than the porch, then it goes to people on the chatzer. Says the Gemara, 1 second, it goes to people in the chutzner, it's more than 10 tefachim? That's where Rishus B'fnei Atzmai. That's an area unto itself. You can't carry from the chutzner up to that pillar. That's its own Rishus. Amai, Rishus Vayu. It comes out that it's going to be the Rishus of both of theirs. Ella, says the Gemara, my l'chatzer, af l'chatzer, u'shnei masurim. Hachanam, in our case, my l'chatzer, af l'chatzer, u'shnei masurim, shema mina. We saw this picture yesterday, that basically, again, I'm sorry, so we had it again, is that, again, the proof is from the fact that it says, in the Sefer, when it's smucha. It's only when it's close by to the porch. But if it's muflages, then if it's further away, even if it's 10 tefachim tall, it goes to the chatzar. Ask the Gemara, why is that true? If it's more than 10 tefachim tall, then it's equally away from both areas, because it's farther away from the people on the porch. Why? Because it's further away than 4 tefachim. And as well, the people down below can't carry because it's more than 10 tefachim from them. So what must it mean? It must mean af l'chatzar. They both have equal rights. And when you both have equal rights, you don't make an eruv, you're both aser. So too, in our case, the Gemara has successfully defended opinion of Rav. We neither have a raya or a question on Rav and Shmuel. So Tanan, the Gemara tries again. Cholyas habar v'asela. We have a case that we have a pit or we have a rack. Shein gavayim asara, which is 10 tefachim tall. Limir beset to the porch. Pachas mikan, then it goes to the porch. Again, if it's 10 tefachim tall, like we saw a moment ago, then it goes up to the porch, and the people in the porch have rights there. Pachas mikan, if it's less than 10 tefachim, l'chatzer, it goes to people in the chatzer. So what's the raya? The raya is the same raya. Let's see the picture over here. What do we see over here? This is what we think. Again, it's the same hava mina like we thought before. Like the picture points out, it's the exact same case. We think that what's going on over here, we have a rock, we have a well, and we think it's that it goes to people on the porch. What does it mean, the people on the porch? Again, the Gemara doesn't necessarily go in sequence. The Gemara doesn't necessarily know that we just answered what we answered. The Gemara is saying it's b'nei aliyah, to people on the second floor, like we started off today. Ask the Gemara, what's going on? Both the top people and the bottom people, it's 10 tefachim away. What does that mean? It should be difficult for both of them. Seemingly, again, this is a question on Rav and a raya too. Says the Gemara, seemingly this is a question on Rav and a raya too. Shmuel. Amar Rav Huna, what does it mean? Again, lo'isam hadarim b'marpeset. It means those that live on the porch, meaning not that they live on the second floor, but they're flush with the porch. Says the Gemara, okay, Tenach Sela. I understand the case of a rack. The rack is flush with the porch, all is good. Bar Michael Meimar. What's the case of a pit? Says the Gemara, again, what was the question? The question was, a pit by definition means it goes deep. So you're telling me that the rock is equal to the porch, great. But if the pit is equal to the porch, what does it help? The pit goes inside. So the people on the porch are either way going to have to go down below. Says the Gemara, you know what it's talking about? Bar Maleya, Mayim Askina. We're talking about a pit that's filled with water, so it goes all the way to the top, so it's flush with the porch. Says the Gemara, 1 second, B'chasra, if you're going to be allowed to use that pit, as you're taking out the water, it's going to slowly diminish. Says the Gemara, Kiman Dechimal Yasharya. No, since when it's filled, it's motor Kichasra Nami Sharya. No. When some of the water diminishes, it's still allowed. Says Gemara, I don't understand. What's the logic to that? Adrab, the exact opposite. Why don't we say flip it around? Just like when the pit is going to be missing a little bit, it's going to be further away than the porch, so it should be aser. When it's filled as well, it should be forbidden. Says the Gemara, you're right. Elam Rabbi, a new case. You know what we're talking about? A pit that is filled with fruit. Says the Gemara, what did you gain? You're going to eat those fruit, and then again it's going to fall down. Says the Gemara, it's tevel, so you're not allowed to eat the fruit. Therefore, you're not going to actually take the fruit. So what is the usage of this fruit? Nothing. It's just the top of the pit, and you can use the well to put things down in it. Says the Gemara, I'll bring you a proof. It's similar to a cellar, similar to a rack. Just like a rack, the usage of the rack is just to put things on it. It's not to actually go into the rack. So too with the pit, the usage of this pit is with fruit that you can't eat, and it's just to use it as a stand to put things on. Says Gemara, so 1 second, it sounds like it's on the exact same din. Why do you have to say it 2 times? Says the Gemara, Sricha. If it's in the case of the rack, I would have thought the lekal migzar. In the case of the rack, there's no gzeira. Everything's great. You can use it, no problem. Aval bar ligzar zimnin demalia beiras mistukanim. Why don't we make a gzeira that you should not be allowed to use the top of a pit? You know why? Because sometimes the pit will be filled with regular fruit, and you're going to come to eat the fruit. It's going to go down further away from the porch, and you're going to be transporting, which you're not allowed to do. So you would think maybe you should make that gzeira. Sricha, the chiddush is that you do not make that gzeira. Let's just throw some nice pictures over here. Says the Gemara, bar Michael Meimar. What's the case of the pit? As you see the pit over here, as it shows that it goes in. So the person on the porch is going to be going down. And says the Gemara, bar Mayim Askinan. So it's filled with water up until the top. Says the Gemara, what do you mean? But it's going to go lower down. So then how are you allowed? Answer the Gemara, it's filled with peiros. I don't know, to me this looks a little bit more like Mike and Ike's. But anyways, it's filled with peiros. Says the Gemara, therefore that's the reason why you're allowed to use it. And then the Gemara said that it's peiros, which you're not allowed to eat. Tashima, so again, so far we have not had a clear-cut raya to Rav or to Shmuel about this case when you have a pit, when you have a pillar, when you have something which is equally 10 tefachim away from both the person on the bottom and the person on top. It's a difficult usage to both of them. What is the din? Rav said it's forbidden to both. Shmuel said, no, we give it to the one that's leaning down. It's easier to lean down than to throw up. We have not throw up, to throw an object up. Says the Gemara, we do not have a clear-cut proof. Says the Gemara, let's keep on trying. 8 lines to the bottom, Tashima. Anshe Chatzer, Anshe Aliyah. We people that live in a Chatzer, people live in a top floor. Sheshachu v'lo Ervu, they forgot to make an ear together. What's the halacha? Anshe Chatzer, Mishtamshin ba'asara tachtainim. The people in the Chatzer get the bottom 10 tefachim. Anshe Aliyah, Mishtamshin ba'asara alyoinim. Okay, very good. We know that Rosh is 10 tefachim. Says the Gemara, people in the bottom get the bottom 10, people on the top get the top 10 tefachim. Keitzad, what does that mean? Ziz, a protrusion. We've seen a ziz before. Yoitzim and HaKoisel goes out from the wall. Lamata me'asara. If this protrusion is less than 10 tefachim, l'chatzer, the people in the bottom get to use that protrusion. Lamala me'asara. If it's above 10 tefachim, la'aliyah, it goes to the top people. End of Mishnah. Says the Gemara, let's be medayik what's going on. Ha debeini ubeini. Let's say it's between 10 tefachim, it's between the top and the bottom. What does it sound like? Sounds like it's aser, like the opinion of Rav. Sounds like that in a case, let's show up the picture. Here's the picture. If it's less than 10 tefachim, it goes to the people on the bottom. If it's more than 10 tefachim, it goes to the people on the top. Sounds like if it's 10 tefachim, it's aser. Why is it aser? That's what Rav said. Because it's difficult to use it. Sounds like according to Shmuel, though, what was the halacha? According to Shmuel, it would have been mutter to the guy to bend down. Seemingly, this is a raya to Rav, a question on Shmuel. Answers the Gemara, 4 lines to the bottom, Amar Nachman. No, the wall's only 19 tefachim. Ziv ziz yotzimenu, and you have a protrusion. Lamata me'asara, less than 10, lezeh. The Pesach lezeh b'shilshel. So if it's less than 10 tefachim, then what is the case? Then it's the case that the bottom people, it's easy usage. It's like our Pesach, it's a doorway, it's in 10 tefachim. Lezeh, the top people, it's b'shilshel, because it's within 10, it's more than 10 tefachim away. L'mala me'asara lezeh, and therefore, it's going to go, to the people that it's a Pesach. L'mala me, the people on the bottom. L'mala me'asara, but if this protrusion is above 10 tefachim, then lezeh b'Pesach, lezeh b'zrika. Then the top people, it's easy for them. The bottom people have to throw it, therefore it goes to the top people, but it's not necessarily approved to our case because there's no Beini Ubeini, there's no middle case because it's a 19 tefach wall. As you see over here, Here's your 19 tefach wall. Says the Gemara, if it's within 10 tefachim of the bottom, like the case on the left, the protrusion on the left, it's 9 tefachim from the bottom. So the people on the bottom, it's very user-friendly. It's within 10 tefachim. That's what we call a Pesach. Pesach always means something that's user-friendly. So people on the bottom can use it. But the top people, for them it's difficult. It's shilshal. They cannot use it. Whereas if it's above 10 tefachim from the bottom, that means what? It's lower than 10 tefachim from the top. So the top people, it's easy. The bottom people, it's not. So go to the top people. Again, we do not have a clear-cut proof to our din. Moving along to Pei Dalid, Amid Beis, Tashema, the Gemara tries another proof. Shtei Gezutrois, Zu Lamalamizu. We should ring a bell this case. We have these two protrusions hanging off a wall on top of a river, top of water. Asul El Yaina, V'lo Asul Tachtleina, Shtei and Asuris, Ache Ervu. The halacha is, if the top people made mechitzais, but not the bottom people, then the top people they're both aser until they make an eruv. So what exactly is this case? Let's see. Here's the case that you have these two protrusions over the water. If everyone remembers, you can see Rashi in the top of the Amid. Rashi says that this is a case of kula that they gave, that even though the water is a carmelis, and your porch over here, your gizatrois, your protrusion, is a rishos hayachid, they allowed you to transport from the water into your area as long as you made those mechitzas, like you see over here on the right. They made the mechitzas on the top. So the question is, the top guy has mechitzas, so he's allowed to draw water on Shabbos. What about the bottom guy? He's stuck in a pickle. Says the Gemara, I'm sorry, that's the answer. So says the Gemara, Amar Avada. Sorry, so what's the question? One more time. Says the Gemara, let's see, Rashi speaks it out over here. Rashi says, Shtei and Asurais. So Ache Ervu. Seemingly, this is just like Rav, Shtei and Asurais. But how does this fill in to our case? So Rashi says, the case is Alma. Here's Rashi. Rashi is about 6 lines before the wide lines. Rashi says, Alma, lezeb shilshol lebnei aliyah. The top people, they're just bending down. Tashmish milu zeb shilshol shemashal liyam. They just bend down to get from the water. Ulebnei tachtaina, from the bottom people, bizrika v'shilshol. They got to take their bucket, they got to throw it up, get it into the hole, and get down. That's a pretty difficult usage. Katani shtei masurais, they're both aser. Again, let's go back. Here's the case. What's going on? This is the case, they're both aser. This seemingly is a riot to Rav. Why? How is this comparable? The top guy, what does he have to use? Is it an easy usage for the top guy to get the water? Of course not. It's more than 10 tefachim away from him. That's called shilshal. The bottom guy didn't use usage? Of course not. He got to take his bucket, he got to throw it up, get it into the hole, and get down. It's more than 10 tefachim from him. Says the Gemara, this is exactly our case. That the usage is more than 10 tefachim from one guy, more than 10 tefachim from the other guy. According to Rav, they're both aser. Beautiful raya. According to Shmuel, what shall halacha be? No, the one that does shilshal, the one that bends down should do it. So in our case, seemingly this is a raya to Rav. Question. Shmuel answers the Gemara, 3 lines from the top. Amar Ravada Barava, be'bayin b'nei tachtayna derech halyona lemalois. No, the case is that the bottom people go up the ladder to the top people to fill up the water. So it's nothing to do with our case. And the reason why it's aser is because you have 2 people using one rishos, and they didn't make it erev, so it's forbidden. Abaye says a different answer. These 2 porches are within 10 tefachim of each other, and therefore they both have an equal usage over here. And since they didn't make an erev, it's going to be forbidden. If they made this protrusions, this mechitzos out of the bottom one and not the top one, dasiri, even that's aser. Why? Since each porch within 10 tefachim of each other, kaiman aser la'adadi. They aser on each other, just like we keep on seeing. Anytime we have an area that 2 people equally use, if they do not make an erev, it's a joint rishos, it's a mixed gender or confused gender, therefore it's going to be forbidden. Even if they made from the top people, they made these walls going down, and now for the bottom people, I would have thought the top guy, it's easier. He just takes it down. The bottom guy, he has to climb up. So maybe we should give it to the top guy. Kamash Malon, no. What's the chiddush? Kivon devgoya Sarah Kaimon. Since both of them are within 10 tefachim, aser na'adadi. They aser on each other. So here's our case. The first answer is that the people on the bottom go to the top people with the ladder, and therefore it becomes an area that they both use equally, and therefore it's forbidden. The second case is that they're both within 10 tefachim of each other. Again, it becomes an area that they both use equally, and therefore it is forbidden. Let's finish up. Says the Gemara, Ki Hada Amar Rav Nachman Amar Shmuel. So still we have not have a proof. When Rav Nachman came, he said the name of Shmuel. We have a roof that's near Rosh Hashanah. Sarach sulam kavua la'atirai. You need a fixed ladder to be matter carrying. Sulam kavua in, sulam arayloi. But a temporary ladder doesn't work. My time. Oh, what's the reason? La mishom the kivun de besoicha sara de adadi the both in 10 tvachim kaimi. Also na adadi. They answered on each other. Seemingly the reason, says the Gemara, is whenever we have two areas, like we just saw a moment ago, whenever we have two areas that are within 10 tvachim of each other, it will answer on each other. So Matzler Rabba, no, that's not a proof. People put their scarves and their hats in that area, and that's the reason why it answers, because they both have equal usage. Again, here is the case. It's a little bit of a complicated case, but you have your street. Let's say we're driving down the street, driving towards the left side of the screen. You're driving down the street, and on the right side, you see that porch. The porch is 5 tvachim off the ground. So you got to hop up onto that porch. Then from that porch, you take a ladder, as you see over there inside the house over here. This little ladder, you take the ladder to get up onto the aliyah. So the case is, says the Gemara, only if there's a sulam kavua, only if there's a fixed ladder, are we going to allow you to carry from this marpeset, from this porch up into the roof. Why? Because the porch is not 10 tefachim from the Rishus Rabbim. I'm just reading basically the Rashi that it quotes over here. From that porch go up to the roof, and less than 10 tefachim. And therefore, because the case obviously is that their porch is megufefes, constantly seen, it's enclosed, and everything's within 10 amais. Says the Gemara, no. The case is that maybe people use that top area, and that's the reason why it's going to be forbidden. As you see this guy putting his hat on it, here's a little bit of a different angle. That gives a little bit of a better perception of the picture over here. You see, this is the street, and those 3 steps go up onto that porch, and then from there, you go up onto that aliyah, onto that roof. That's the case that we're talking about, and the Gemara thought this was a proof that since everything is within 10 tefachim of each other, on that, the Gemara answers no, that the case is that the people put their things on top of this roof, and that is the reason why it's going to be forbidden. In 1 minute or less, let's just see one Rashi over here that explains exactly what's going on. Says Rashi, La Mishom. Rashi's 2 lines for the very wide lines. La Mishom Dabachi Askin is like Gavia Marpesat Asar Mishrami Meno Ilan the Gago Pachs Me Asar Hula Alma Afal Gav de Merpesach Kepesach. Even though the porch is like a door, because within that Tvachim, so we think this is a proof to what we just said, that whenever it's in that Tvachim, it asks on each other. Gemara says, no, not necessarily is it a proof. Why? Because the case is talking about that they put the Kumsa of a Sudra, they put their hat on it. We'll pick it up from here in Mondays.